Yeah, you're listening to Lowering the Tone with Meet Katie, with a man like Meet Katie. And this is Tom from Evil 9 saying you should listen to him because he knows what he's talking about.
I'll use all these, you know I will, won't you? Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Lowering the Tone with me, Meet Katie. This episode we have something slightly different interview-wise. I chat to sculptor, artist, musician and creative entity, Alex Wright, aka Wreckage Inc, from the legendary Mutoid Waste Company. But before that, I have a ton of kicking music to play to you. And there's a welcome return. I say welcome, I hope it's a welcome return to the deeper selection. Been a while since I had dropped things down, got a little bit dirty and shamelessly indulged myself. Right, let's get started. A big thank you to Steve and the rest of the Sick Note crew down here at Brighton for such a kicking party at Gay Pride. What can I say? That's techno at its best. Talking about techno, this track tore the roof off, so enjoy. Don't forget, if you want to track listen to this show, head over to lowerinnthetone.london and hit subscribe.
Josie Touch, and you're listening to Meet Katie on Lowering the Tone. gosh. Oh my gosh. Easy, easy. Hold it down, hold it down. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Easy, easy. Hold it down, hold it down. Hold it down.
A few more shouts. Cheyenne Milne, Lane Snedden and Luke Smith, thank you so much for your donations. Without people like you, we simply wouldn't be able to run this show. If you're interested in donating towards the podcast, head over to the website www.lowerinthetone.london and there's a donation button. Anything you give will be greatly appreciated.
Easy, easy. Hold it down, hold it down, hold it down. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Easy, easy. Yes, you take myself. Yes, you take myself.
Back in the hot seat. Big shout to Ben Coda, who hosted the last episode of Lowering the Tone. If you want to catch up on any of the previous episodes, head over to lowerinthetone.london. Okay, one more track, then I'm going to drop it down to the deep selection.
Responsibility. This is no state of mind. This is reality.
For more information on this podcast, go to loweringthetone.london.
Right, just before we get into it, I have a few shows to plug. On the 17th of September, we're going to be doing a Lowering the Tone versus Bankers Switches, and that's Cafe 1001 in Brick Lane, London. I'll be playing alongside Ben Coda, Matt Goddard, aka Dopamine, Johnny Hunter, Big Nick D, and Hooby Sounds. And that is a free party. On the 24th of September, which is my birthday, I will be at the Tribe of Frog birthday party, and that is at the Lakota in Bristol. We'll be taking over one of the rooms, myself, Neuro Driver, and again, Mr. Ben Coda. See if you can make any of those parties, and if you do, come say hello, don't be shy. Alright, let's get into this deeper selection.
You're listening to Meet Katie on Lowering the Tone.
Back to burn. Back to burn. Back to burn.
Okay, last shouts for this episode, the Mr. Wampy crew. Thank you for letting me play on your ice cream van again at Boomtown Festival. It was awesome, as always. If anyone out there has not been to the Boomtown Festival, I would highly recommend it. The level of production is insane. Also, just a quick shout to Don Kane and Layla McKenzie, who I met backstage while playing. It was an absolute pleasure. Hopefully I will hook up with you all again soon.
How am I supposed to try?
Everything is in color, and I can feel the air. I can see it. I can see all the molecules. I'm part of it. Can't you see it?
I'm trying.
Like you're released, or you're free, or I don't know how I can tell you.
How do you feel inside?
Everything is one. I am one with what I am. Like you're released, or you're free, or I don't know how I can tell you.
How do you feel inside?
Everything is one. I am one with what I am.
Thanks for listening to Deeper Selection. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to play one more tune, and then we're going to get into that interview with Wreckage Inc.
Exclusive.
Right, I'd like to welcome Alex, Wreckage Inc, to Lowering the Tone. This time round, I've come to visit you on a disused army base, isn't it?
Former army barracks.
Army
That's what
barracks.
it's called, yeah.
In Surrey, in the UK. And it's a sunny Sunday afternoon. This came together very quickly. I messaged you on Friday, and I said, "What about Sunday?" And you went, "Yeah, all right."
Yeah.
And then
Didn't realise I'd be so hungover.
yeah, at least you prepared me. You went, "I was a long barbecue that lasted all night."
Yeah.
So where on earth should we start? We have a lot of things to talk about.
We've already gone over most of it.
We have actually sat here and had a chat about what we should speak about, and actually kind of covered it all before we started recording.
I think probably you're going to have to end up going bleep, bleep, bleep.
Oh,
Have you got a bleep thing?
Well, let's start from the beginning.
There's some names and stuff that shouldn't be mentioned, but
All right. Well, let's see how we go. Let's start from the beginning. Where are you from, and how did you get started with Wreckage and Mutoids? Really?
I sort of born in Nottingham, went to Scotland with my folks when I was about 6. Grew up in Fort William, and then I couldn't wait to get out of there, so I went to Edinburgh. That wasn't big enough, and so I went to London with my sister. Moved into a squat in Haringey. Went to this really cute little pub. We met up with this crew called Haringey Homes for All. And we were like, how does this squatting thing work? And they gave us a crowbar and went, well, is this flat over there? So we broke in.
When was this? And what sort of?
We were like 84 or something,
80s,
85, you know what I mean? And then pretty much a couple of weeks later, my sister's best mate from high school was going out with this Bob, the dentist. He was a dentist. And he ran a crew called CPA. It was a sound system.
All right, okay.
And
because obviously the early 80s wasn't so much.
I don't know what they were playing, to be honest, but they were like, okay, we're doing this party, you got to come and check it out. These are mental.
Was it dance music?
It was Mutoids. It was a Mutoid party.
Oh.
Right, so we're like, you got to come and check this shit out. It's fucking off the wall. So me and my sister went down there, and it was on Amiga Place on Caledonian Road, right close to King's Cross. And just down a little alley. You went down this little alley and you're like, this doesn't feel right going down this alley. And then you went through this little doorway, and then you came out into like, it was like cars hanging up in the ceiling with the headlights shining at the floor. And the floor was kind of flooded with water. You didn't know how deep it was. So it was like a bridge that went over this kind of water. So everybody went over the bridge, obviously. And there was a big spider's web made out of sort of tow ropes and stuff. And it was like guys just hanging on this tow rope, hanging on this spider web, just like rocking out. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, this feels right. Do you know what I mean? I was like, everything that I'd been sort of thinking about in terms of like comic book and artwork, and because I wanted to be a comic artist.
All right. Okay.
And
well, can I just? We're sitting in your studio, so I'm just going to just set the scene a little bit. There's a lot of dragons drawn.
Oh yeah, well, I'm doing a dragon truck from my mate Mad Owl.
I don't want to spin you off, but yeah, I can see that you're quite interested in.
Well, this is just it's just homework. Do you know what I mean? When you sort of do a project, you just got to get all those images out there, try and soak it all in, and that sort of goes towards. I mean, there's a drawing here of what the truck's.
This is really bad podcasting, Alex. Hey, look at this picture. I did notice this earlier.
Check this great picture. It's basically a truck, and it's going to have a dragon head on the front. And,
well, that's what it looks like, a big army truck.
There you go. It is. It's
I'm
an
just
old
going to
RL.
describe it with a massive. You see these kind of
you
dragons.
Brought it up. You brought up the dragons.
did.
You know what I mean? But that's.
I'm going to try and describe it to.
I'm carving out of polystyrene at the moment.
But this is what you see at like Chinatown for when the festivals, when the people stand with all the big dragons and the massive head, and it moves. That's what it looks like. But it's
that's what I
to
do.
a big vehicle.
I make sculpture. I'm a sculptor, I guess. You know, I think I'm an artist. That's what they say.
Well, it's definitely artistic.
And it is my mate, and he was like, "Do you want to build this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." And then I started it, and I'm like, fuck, it's a really big job.
I was going to say, it's huge.
So I just bought these huge blocks. I've got this like block of polystyrene. It's sort of like 15 foot by 10 foot by 8 foot. And I've got to carve a dragon's head out of it. And then I've got to mould that in fiberglass and then pop the thing out of the mould. So, yeah.
Right, well, look, I'm going to take you back to Caledonian Road. That was my fault.
Okay.
Right, so, sorry, I can see that you've had a long night, and I am putting you on the spot, so you're holding up well, mate.
Cheers.
But Caledonian Road...
That was my introduction to the Mutoid Waste. And
that was Mutoid Waste.
And when I first went there, I was just like, fuck, I got to work with these guys, you know, and I ended up... what happened? So like there was a bunch of guys like battering shit out of some oil drums, like basically just some impromptu kind of percussion thing going on. And I picked up this bit of metal, started battering this oil drum, and this geezer came up to me and went, "Excuse me, that's my tow bar. Do you mind putting it down?" And I was like, "Really?" I'm just trying to, you know. He was like, "Mate, put it down." And I was like, "Okay." Later on, I got to know this was Robin, and he was one of the founders of the Mutoids.
So with the Mutoids, because obviously Joe is kind of like probably one of the biggest faces of Mutoid.
Well, the founders of it was like Robin and Joe, Ricky Lee. Who else was there? I mean, there's like a bunch of
So a collective.
It was a collective. Well, yeah. Joe always wanted it to be Joe Rush in the Mutoid Waste Company, but a lot of people said to him, just shut up. He's not listening to this one. And they were a wicked crew, man. They were just, it was, yeah. And what happened, so that first meeting, I'm sort of chatting to Robin. Robin's saying, put down that tow bar. This geezer fell out of the roof, right? There was like, it's a warehouse, probably about 20 foot up. There was like these metal kind of eaves. This guy just fell out. There was a bunch of people up there hanging on I don't know what they were doing up there, but he fell, landed on Robin's bus, bounced off the bus, landed on the car, bounced off the car, landed on the floor, got up and went, wicked party, mate. Yeah.
So this is kind of like, this is what pre-Acid House.
It was, yeah, I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I don't even know what the music was kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, I guess there was that
85, I guess, something like 85.
Yeah, so it's kind of on its way, but I guess there's more of an industrial sort of sound going around.
Yeah, well, we just sort of used to do some of the parties that we did. Like Test Department would move in afterwards.
Test Department, yeah.
Or after us or before us. They just did a show recently. They kind of got back together, yeah.
No way.
I'm really bummed I missed it. But they asked me and my mate to make some instruments for them. Giles did. I didn't get together. I didn't even get together to go to the gig. But they were wicked. So we didn't really work with them, but we were on the same sort of scene.
Right, yeah.
It was a strange time for music because it was like, I guess we were all kind of listening. I was really into Rare Groove.
Yeah. Well, me
funk,
too.
You know what I mean? I was in a band called Cindy Talk.
What's it called?
Cindy Talk.
Cindy Talk. What do you play?
I sort of battered a guitar with a drill and stuff.
All right.
That was my thing. I actually do play guitar, but at that time, no, we just used to drill into it with a, or angle grind. I don't know. It's all about noise, really, just making sounds.
Yeah.
And basically, I left Edinburgh. I dropped out of art college because Gordon Sharp from Cindy Talk was like, yeah, do you want to come and I'm doing this recording, do you want to come and do an EP? So me and my sister were like, yeah, so it's going to be down in London. And this EP...
So is that what drew you to London?
Pretty much. It was just an excuse to get out of college because college was shit. It was really kind of conservative, and Edinburgh Art College was just shit. But Gordon was like, yeah, so we're doing this recording. It was in Alaska Studios next to Waterloo Station. Mm. One of the bassists out of the Vibrators. It was his studio, really? Yeah. And if we worked from 12 o'clock at night onwards, we got cheap shit, so we sort of went in there at 12 o'clock and worked all through the night. And it was on like a full-on fucking 30-channel desk going on a tape. And, we had a tape off and all that.
Yeah, that's
doing stuff onto a bell. Remember the bells? It was a drum machine that you could record 5 or 6 seconds onto, and we used it as a sampler.
Okay.
And we were mastering onto VHS as a digital thing. It's like proper old school. And
so what happened to the band?
Well, Cindy Talk's still going and they're doing really well. Gordon's, loads of people really rate it. They're brilliant. They do. It's really, it can be challenging.
Avant-garde.
There isn't a beat. We did used to have a beat at some point.
It could be challenging. That's a nice way of describing music.
Sometimes it was beautiful, and sometimes it's just fucking noise. But that was what we were trying to do, this balance of kind of noise and, there's a lot of stuff like that. At the time it was like Neubaut and then Birthday Party and all that kind of stuff. In fact, one of the, what's his name, Mick Harvey from the Birthday Party, he drummed on one of our tracks.
Oh, okay. They were a big deal for quite a while.
They were, I fucking loved all that shit,
That's you. I turned mine off.
Sorry, that's my lawyer.
It's all right.
I kind of started from this kind of noise punk, throbbing gristly kind of, that was, sort of music I was doing then. And
so then you discovered
then,
Mutoid Waste.
met up with Joe and that, and after a while drifted into that, and it was pretty much a lifestyle really, because like living in London at that time, you had to live in a squat, and we all just kind of moved from squat to squat, and different crews, worked with different crews, and you know that's what you did.
So with Mutoid Waste and the way that it came together, obviously you've like vehicles seem to be the thing. The art cars. They're called art cars now, but when you started doing it, there wasn't a name. They were just Mad Max style futuristic machines.
That was a really sweet part of it. Like as a kid, right, I used to do motocross, and I had a motorbike, so I was really into that. My dad taught me how to weld when I was like sort of 10, and I was quite artistic, but I didn't put the two together. I was like, I've been doing drawings and paintings, or I was working on some mechanics. But when I met up with Joe and that, I was just like, shit, I could do both. Do you know what I mean? And it was a real revelation.
You had the skills.
Shit, I can get that engine and make that into a face or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And that had not occurred to me. You know what I mean? I don't think it occurred to Joe. Basically, Joe met up with Robin, who was a mechanic. Joe was an artist. Ricky Lee was a scrap dealer, and they sort of met at this kind of, some scrapyard in West London, I don't know, but it came together in a really organic way that they could actually vibe off each other and get some crazy shit together. I mean, it was, it was a kind of revelation, I guess.
That sounds like a good combination, scrap dealer and artist, and welder, mechanic,
Yeah. Actually, none of those guys could weld that well. I remember when I went down the yard the first time, and I learned how to weld when I was 10, obviously, but it was... I think it was Strapper was like, you stick that stick in there and you jiggle it about, and that's his welding lesson. And actually, it's a little bit more than jiggling it about. You go, there's your V butt, and there's your there's your S, and I don't know.
So when was the bit of the breakthrough with sort of like a more of a, well, I say commercial because you're not commercial, and I understand that. I'm not.
I've tried to be commercial. I tried to sell out so many times, just nobody wanted to buy it.
But with that sort of more popular sort of appeal,
from the moment I saw a Mutoid party, and they'd probably been going for about a year or so. I don't even know. I think they'd been going for about a year when I saw them, and I was just like, it basically. It was such a revelation. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it's like an alternative. These people were actually living the life. They're not pretending. It wasn't like, they weren't trying to be clever. They weren't trying to do something. They were trying to do something, but they weren't trying to be something that they weren't. Yeah. They were just doing something with no rules whatsoever. I mean, I don't know, it sounds a bit naff, but...
Well, no, but it's true.
And I just thought, fuck, it made so much sense to me that you could live that way. Just, and what, I think... Essentially, what we were doing, and what as a kind of an artistic person, all I've ever wanted to do is just do shit that entertains people, And we'd never been doing it for the money, that's for sure. We've just been doing it for the love, and
and you're still doing it
to entertain motherfuckers,
So I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. Once you had sort of connected with the Mutoid guys, and you're all working together, that there was a moment where everyone moved to Italy. Can we just tell me a little bit about that?
Because it's a serious story, and I don't think we've ever really told it. I try and tell people what happened, right? So we did these series of parties at Battle Bridge Road, just behind King's Cross. Yeah. And they were big.
This is London for anyone
London,
that doesn't know London.
Battle Bridge Road, but on London it was platform 12. You walked down there and you went out the back end, and it was actually the most filmed square mile of London, because it was using all those old Ealing films like The Lady Killers. It was all filmed around there. All these like gasometers. It was a really amazing, really picturesque Victorian kind of run down street, and the end of it was a big old bus depot that we squatted. And the first party we had like a couple of hundred people, next party 400 people, next party 800 people, next party 1600 people. It just kept doubling, and after a couple of months it was 4,000 people, maybe more, I don't know. So this is, I guess, about 1986, 1987. And
just as Acid House is blowing up.
Yeah, I remember. They asked me to be a painter. That was when I first. So I went to those first Mutoid parties, And I was like, I've got to be part of this. But I ended up working with a crew called Screech Rock and 2000 DS, and we squatted a Waterloo fire station.
I've been to parties there.
That was a wicked spot. It was mental, wasn't it? Yeah, we used to have this punk wine. You came in, right? It was basically a black dustbin full of red wine with fucking 40 grams of speed in it, and we called it punk wine. I don't know why, it was like a bit of LSD or whatever shit went into this fucking drum, and you just drank it. Anyway, so Joe from the Muties went down there and he was like, I love all these little bits of graffiti, which was my stuff, and they tracked me down and asked me to be their painter. So I went down there and started doing some painting. After I'd done a bit of painting, I started making a sculpture, and that's when Robin came out and went, you're a painter. Don't start doing a sculpture. Just leave that to us. It's like, mate, but I'm all over this. Like, put the welder down. Just do some painting. So I painted battery acid right across these windows, like 40-foot kind of expansive windows with a big smiley face and battery acid. And that was the name of the party. I think it was Battery Acid Party. And I can't even, like I was saying earlier, I just can't even remember who played. I think Mark Moore from S Express DJ'd there.
Yeah.
And we were doing some live drumming, so we had a little stage set up, and we all like had these plastic chemical drums.
Yeah.
And we were just like battering shit out of that, and that was our thing, you know. And Joe did a bit of harmonica. We were like ka-dunk, 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 ka-dunk. And we actually had these like it was like a big kind of xylophone, loads of plastic tubes, like sort of pan pipes or something, right? But they were 30 foot long, so it meant to actually drum them, you had to stand way up. So I went up this platform, I was like 30 foot in the air with these like ping pong bats going boom, 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 you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I couldn't hear shit of what was going on down there. It looked really good. There was like there's like hundreds of people just dancing around in that, and I kept running down going, can you hear me? Like climbing up this ladder going, it was quite surreal. That was my first gig with the Muties, I guess, for the Battery Acid Party.
So then you moved to Italy.
Oh yeah, no, I was getting to that. Oh, but one of the other things that was like funny about that party was that I was running around at one point. It was £1 to get in, right? It was £1, and I was running around. There was loads of people climbing over the wall and just everywhere. It was a big site, and
people still bunking even when it's £1.
And I was like, oi, what are you doing? I'm going, no. I was like, it's £1 to get in. They were like, well, we'll pay you. We just wanted to get in. We just wanted to make sure we got in. We don't really fucking know. It's like, here's £1. And then a little bit later, I found these people running around going, charging people to get in. I was like, who are you? So people were just randoms were charging other people £1 to get in.
So how did
that's outrageous.
How did that
I'm sorry, I'm getting to it. So what happened then, right? So we did this party. It was about fucking 4,000 people, mental and all that. And the next week we tried to do it. Nobody turned up. It was maybe like 50, 60 people kind of wandered in, and all sitting around with the whole party's dressed up, loads of an old bus depot filled with like bits of sculpture made out of cars and trucks and old chimneys and stuff. We had like a giant spider made out of Volkswagens. There was some that's what we did.
As you do.
Well, it was there. Do you know what I mean? There was loads of shit lying around, and you just got to drag it in there and hook it up and weld it together. And so we just went down to King's Cross station, and there was a bunch of cops all just standing in front of the station, and they were like, you can get on the tube, but you can't get back out. And we were like, really, why? And they're going, we're just not letting people out. They shut down King's Cross station that night. And
so
I was like,
people couldn't go to the party.
So people couldn't come to our party, right?
No way.
They fucking did that, right? 1986, they just wouldn't let anybody out of King's Cross station.
But they introduced funny laws then, didn't they?
Well, I don't know if there was a law about that.
Well, I don't know if there's a law.
They just sort of went, okay, nobody's getting out. And it floored us, do you know what I mean? We were just like, shit, can we really? They didn't even let the buses. There was no buses. It was dead. King's Cross, it was weird. So me and my buddies, we're all kind of dressed up in weird shit anyway. We used to wear like sort of motocross mud guards on our head and sort of painted up faces and plastic toys stuck to our head, so they kind of knew something was up. Yeah, it was a bit like that. And so these cops were just looking at us going, okay, you can get on, but you could get off. And we were just, fuck, like the Rumble does. How can we compete against this? And we thought about fighting it, you know. And well, I mean, how can you fight that? You know, you can't. So we kind of got this job with at Heaven. Remember Heaven?
Yeah.
Heaven were like, we need this new dance floor. We want.
Heaven was a great venue.
It was,
really
banging, wasn't it? Yeah, it was like it was quite predominantly a gay night, but just like
Heaven.
Banging.
It was gay on the originally. It was I can't remember the name of it.
Maybe it was just gay the nights I went. I don't know.
It was a major gay night, but then Spectrum spawned from that, which was Paul Oakenfold's night.
Oh, was it? Right.
And then subsequently, Carl Cox done stuff there. But the night by the time, you know, this is much later. The time I was involved in playing there was when it was Bedrock, which was the Thursday. Right. But there's Drum Club as well. Yeah, used to do it. Yeah. I mean, Heaven. How many people? I mean, it's a few thousand people. The whole thing. It's massive.
Like a few floors, isn't it? And just really weird, dingy little arches.
Yeah,
isn't it?
And it had what was it called? The Sound Shaft, which was upstairs, which was a big venue. That probably took 600-700 people on its own. I mean, it's a shame. London just doesn't have those.
Is it still going?
I don't know. Certainly not parties that I know of.
I was there about maybe at least 8 years ago. I went down to something.
But there was, I mean,
and Nightingale was playing.
There were so many good parties at Heaven. But yeah, Spectrum was one of the first acid house nights.
I think it might have been that.
It was a Monday night.
Well, what they said was, can you build as a something? So like, I kind of designed something. I built like a scorpion.
Heaven on Earth, I used to call it.
Yeah. Heaven in a
Spectrum.
Heaven in a dirty arch.
Messy.
Surrounded by sweaty gay blokes. It's wicked. But yeah, so we designed a few things, but in the end what they went with was a skull. So it was like a skull, and you walked through the eye socket and onto the dance floor.
Oh, wow.
And they paid us, I can't even remember where it was quite a few grand, and it was enough for us to like get new tyres on some of the vehicles and book a load of tickets on a ferry. And we had this job in Amsterdam. People were like, do you want to come to this festival in Amsterdam? So we left
the UK. Was you planning on coming back, or?
Well, it's just Robin's whole thing was just like, we got to go now. And he was, you know, and who was I to argue? You know, I was like, yeah, fuck it. The police won't let the people off the tube.
How old were you then when this was happening?
I think it was like 21 or something.
Why not?
Yeah, no, I was like, I'm with you, mate, you know. Yeah, so we went to Amsterdam and did a party, but we left because we thought, well, we can't compete with those police that won't let people get off a major train station. You know what I mean? I mean, years later, you know, Steve Bedlam and all that, and the whole Castle Morton thing, they were all like, yeah, cheers for fucking off and leaving us, guys. You know
Castle Morton was a bit of a turning.
Yeah, it was a huge turning point. But it was something that I wasn't part of, you know. But I remember all my buddies that we left behind were like, cheers, mate.
Yeah. But so you left kind of what was that? That's when there was the criminal justice bill, and it all just...
They started bringing it in.
It
wasn't just us doing parties, I guess. I'm sure there was other people, but...
Well, this is like the era of Spoil Tribe.
This was before
Spoil Tribe, okay.
Way before that.
Castle Morton was, after that?
Like 2 years, 3 years later.
Excuse me.
A couple of years later.
Yeah, so you were ahead of the curve there.
A little bit. I remember Spoil Tribe came in. We used to live in a squat in a place called Demon, right? And it was a really evil little place. It was like bodies floating in the canal and stuff.
Where's this?
Amsterdam.
Oh, really?
Southwest Amsterdam. It was a really horrible squat, but you know, somewhere. So Spoil Tribe, there was an advanced crew came out to meet up with us, and we were like, yeah.
Is this when you were in Amsterdam or Italy? You got to Italy?
It was way before Italy.
Oh, right,
probably about a year before Italy.
So you stayed in Amsterdam for...
Yeah, we did a thing, it was called The Last Bus Stop, and it was like...
The Last Bus Stop?
It was an old... it was like, it wasn't really an island, it was like a big concrete kind of loads, they call them loads, so it's like warehouses surrounding a big metal concrete sort of concourse, but with metal strips holding the concrete sheets in place, and they wanted us to do something, so we built a car henge out of trucks and
henge.
Yeah, and we actually welded it straight onto the ground.
So that's a stone henge made out of cars.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But there's actually.
Do you know what? There's anyone wants to Google this? There's pictures of it. I saw some
those ones are at Glastonbury.
Oh, is that a different one? Yeah, because I've seen this. Yeah,
it was a bit of a thing with us. Just get some cars and stand them on their end and stick another car on top, and you got something that's impressive. Yeah. People are like,
you're in Amsterdam.
We could just weld straight onto the ground because of these metal strips running through.
wow.
So we Levant Carder, was it? I think it's called Levant Carder. And there was loads of people squatting there, and there was an old bus that had become this centre, community sort of centre. And the last bus stop, it was all squatted. There's loads of junkies. It was a bit rough. In fact, so people would go you can have that car there. So we'd drag this old Volkswagen over, and we'd sort of put it on its end and weld it into place. And we had to kick out some junkies that were living in it.
They lived in the car?
They were living in this sort of broken down car. We kicked them out. We welded this thing at place, and then put another car across the top, made a henge. And then the next day, the junkies had moved back into it. It was on its end, standing straight upright. And they just went back in, and we were like, well, fair play. I mean, it's not my place to kick you out of your fucking car. So when
Spiral Tribe went out to meet you when you were in Amsterdam?
Oh, yeah. So that was a little bit later, but I can't remember. But what happened was, it was really sad. They came out, and we were like, so who's this? And people were going, it's Spiral Tribe. They're a crew. It's a good crew. They're doing shit back in Britain. It's good. Yeah, work with them. So we kind of met up with them and sort of let them stay in the squat, and we helped them acquire a generator. And just we're doing this party, helping them, pointing them in some directions, but they ended up going down to Barcelona and getting busted for selling drugs to a cop. So no. It was but you never know who's in your crew. Do you know what I mean? There's some geezer in this crew that was, So I shouldn't be saying that.
Well, do you know what? The thing is that when you have a collective, it's which. I'm trying to build my own collective of like-minded people for, based around the Lowering the Tone thing, because we've got ambitions above and beyond just DJing and just doing a show. So you're trying to find like-minded people to how to grow a thing. I'm not. All my people are cool, but when you've got a crew of like maybe 20 plus people, you start kind of losing who people are and how they're involved.
For sure.
So I mean, you can't play. If the core is actually working for the better of all the individual members, you're always going to have like fringe people that aren't on the same page. So I mean, that's just going to happen.
One of the things that happened when that crew turned up was somebody else turned up and ended up this geezer was mugging people. And it's just we're like, who are you? At the end of the day, you don't know. Well, back then, you just, you didn't know who was who. Yeah. You thought he was with him, but he's not. He's actually somebody else. I don't know. Well, especially the older I've got, the more I know my mates.
That free sort of...
It was pretty free, man.
That free sort of sound system, that free sort of parties, that travellers of we just do what we can, when we can, how we can. And also throw in some heavy drugs into the mix, heroin and stuff like that.
Literally, there was a body floating in the canal out in Demon one night.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not going to go any further than that, but,
that's rough.
Shit goes on.
I guess it's times like that you go...
Well, you're getting a job was way beyond my fucking comprehension at that point. That wasn't going to happen. I was in it
for a beautiful, like
mugs for life.
So we're in Amsterdam. How did we get? How did we manage to go to Italy? Because
okay, so
we're going to get to Italy,
All right, it was actually really sweet. What happened when we did this last bus stop thing? We did this whole little festival. People liked it. It was really homegrown, and but these dudes turned up. They were in this motorcycle gang. They all had Harley Davidsons, and they were Italian, and they were like, we love your stuff, man. He's very good, and. That's not very good at Italian accent, but
I've heard worse.
They were like, "You must come and work with us. You must come and work with us in Italy. We do this theatre festival in Sant'Arcangelo. It's like a really old, established theatre festival. It runs for 10 days, and they were like the technicians. They were like the roadies, the lighting guys. But they're a bunch of really anarchistic punk bikers, and they were going, "Yeah, you must come." So they went down and they said to this theatre festival in Sant'Arcangelo, if you don't get these guys to come, we're not working this year. And they were like, oh, okay then. So, they kind of held them to ransom. And so they got us to go down there. And it took us, in fact, there's a film out. My mate, Uli Happ, has done this film Mutoid Waste, what's it called? Well, there's only one Mutoid Waste film.
So this is a documentary available?
It's a documentary, yeah, and he's just kind of released it. And he's only been working on it for about 20 years or something. It's like, he followed us around for 7 years doing this experimental film. And part of it is that us getting from Amsterdam to Italy,
right,
via Barcelona, where we did a job. And we had like so many blowouts and stuff. In fact, that's the main feature of the film. It's just dealing with tyres.
How did you make money for this period? Like while you were in Europe? You know?
Well, yeah, just getting some random kind of, we did an installation. We built an ice cream bar in Barcelona.
Okay.
It was like a giant crab with big claws, and that was the ice cream bar. So that funded some of that, and we did a few exhibitions, and we used to sell stuff. Every now and again we'd sort of get to do some installation in a club or something.
Right.
We did a few in Paris, actually. Paris was a really good mental gig we had.
Paris is a cool place.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Paris wasn't featured much in nobody thinks about Italy, but we did this whole thing in Paris, which is amazing. We had all this Paris glitterati at this warehouse, about 2,000, 3,000 people. And
which year was this, roughly?
It was before Italy. So we did Amsterdam, then we went to Berlin, and then we sort of we were trying to break the wall down. We didn't manage. went away, the wall came down, went back. But that's featured in this film.
So what's the name of the film?
It's okay. The Mutoid Waste, the unrevealed files or something.
Right. Okay.
If you just, if you Google Mutoid Waste,
I'll tell you what we do is that when we when we put this podcast out, we add this to the Facebook group, which is where everyone goes and talks about the show and stuff. I'll find a link for it. You can send me a link. And
for me, it's quite painful. It's a bit like home movies. It's like really badly filmed.
You got an afro.
I've got a mohawk, but me and all my buddies look really, skinny and young. And some of them look
free.
Yeah, some of them look pretty. My mate Strappo, he looks pretty back then. I didn't realise at the time. But anyway, it's quite funny. Yeah, we looked good, all tanned and
so this
skinny.
documentary will explain the question I've been asking.
What?
How we made it to Italy.
Oh yeah,
I say we.
Okay,
I feel like I'm in it with you.
Okay, so these bikers called the Bambino Morte Posse. They were from Milan. That means dead baby motorcycle club.
Nice.
Yeah.
Classic.
But they were just such lovely dudes, man. They were and the mental. I used to go out riding with them, and they would be like driving through Milan at 60 miles an hour, standing on their seats. Like with their arms out, like crucifix. You know
crucifix,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, guys. I was sitting. I had an 850 Suzuki at the time, but I was definitely not standing on my seat.
Right.
And I was like worried about every red light that we went through, but they weren't.
So how long did you stay there for?
It was really sweet. The reason we got to stay there was so we were only going to do a festival, and we were offloading all our vehicles, and at one point Joe nearly crashed this truck getting off the trailer, and the mayoress, she just thought we were hilarious. We wanted to be a circus, right? We had pretensions towards that. We'd sort of done stuff with our chaos.
Well, our chaos is quite an interesting one. We will actually talk about it a bit later, but yeah.
Our chaos, totally cool. We were kind of trying to be we were trying to up our game. We had the set, right? In fact, our chaos stole our set. They stole our aesthetic, right? Which was another story.
Well, you guys were like the original steampunk.
I guess,
look, the visual look.
I mean, we were getting that. we were probably getting it from, we were getting it mainly from 2000 AD, I have to say.
Right.
And all stuff related to Mad Max was kind of from 2000 AD as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know that Brendan McCarthy, he did the last Mad Max, right? He basically storyboarded the whole Mad Max. But he also put ideas into a few of the other Mad Maxes. And Brendan McCarthy was one of the guys who used to work for 2000 AD doing stories.
Okay,
he's a
didn't know
brilliant artist. And Joe, he was in a little skinhead gang with Brendan McCarthy and Brett Ewins, who used to do 2000 AD. And they used to basically chuff glue and have these mad hallucinations about what the future was going to be like. And that's kind of where a lot of that 2000 AD stuff came from. And that's probably where a lot of the Mutoid stuff came from, you know.
Right. Post-apocalyptic punk.
Yeah. It made sense when you chuffed some glue.
Sniffing glue.
Of course it did. But maybe I shouldn't have told everybody that. But anyway, it was so there's a big link, and some people that just sort of maintain that we're just some sort of like Mad Max ripoff. It was a bit deeper than that. We were actually coming from the same place.
Well, that kind of I wrote a few different.
I mean, we weren't trying to be. Also, one of the things, we weren't trying to be this sort of dysmorphic post-apocalyptic shit. We were actually trying to be funny. There's a lot of humour involved. So we moved into this place in Kentish Town, and there's a whole load of toilets in this warehouse, and we just like arranged all these toilets in this really decorative fountain. There's about 100 toilets, all just kind of like. It was just, you use what you find lying around, and we try to do it with humour. We weren't trying to scare people. Although it was, to be honest, when I first went to a Mutoid party, I was a bit scared, but I was also...
I can imagine it being quite daunting to see it like that, so industrial and metal and like hard.
It was hard as fuck, but it really was, coming from... We were taking the piss out of everything, you know what I mean? It was like, we should have been called... it was like double entendres and kind of, everything. I don't know. Yeah, it was just, it was quite humorous.
Yeah.
It really was. We weren't trying to scare any. That's one of the things about, there's quite a lot of Mad Maxy things go on at Burning Man. And it's like, you get a car and you cover it in spikes and, dolls' heads. And
with some fire.
It isn't actually that clever, you know what I mean? So we always try to inject humour into that sort of thing.
That leads us on nicely, actually, to the teapots, because I can see what you're saying there. What was it called? Something. I know it's. I just called it the teapots, but
we called it the Lost Tea Party.
Yeah, that's it. The Lost Tea Party. Because I just sort of called it the teapots.
Some people call them kettles, and we're like, that's not a kettle. They don't really get teapots in America.
But I don't think they need to have tea. I don't think they don't drink tea like
they
we do.
don't. But I did meet some tea enthusiasts. You know what I mean? People are like, you must love tea. I'm like, not really. I'm more of a coffee man.
So anyone that doesn't know,
we did a thing.
You supplied a massive installation of how many was it?
It was a very well received installation at Burning Man 2014.
14, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we kind of got funded partly by Burning Man, which is like, in a few years I've been working with Burning Man. It can be a complete pain, but it's also a nice thing to be part of the family.
Yeah,
and I think they kind of embraced us. It was really kind of lovely. But so they fund stuff. I mean, you can apply for funding, but it's a whole process of shit. You might as well just get a job and earn the money. The amount of emails I had to do to get this funding, and they never give you all the money. If you're going to do a project, it's going to cost 50 grand. They say, right, okay, we'll give you 25, and that's the way they work.
Yeah.
So we got a third of the money from them. A third of it we got from just mates and what can I say, entrepreneurs, and then the other third we got from the crowdfunding.
Oh right, so you've got some sort of benefactors.
Oh yeah, we raked some in from friends and mates, and like I say, I put those money in myself. So it was really scraped together. Why do we do that? I don't know.
Well, it was an immense installation. It was. It
was, yeah.
You can go online and see all the pictures. In fact, when I said that,
there's a Facebook thing, the Lost Tea Party.
That's
Lost.
right. Yeah,
it's not Lost. LOST.
Tea Party.
TEA.
So did you need a crew as well to work that?
Well, building it was. It was a bit mental. I
suppose you needed to build and to be there as well.
When I left Britain, basically my mate Scotty. So me and Joe went out actually and did Burning Man.
Joe from Mutoid
Rush,
Waste.
In 2008, we went out there and built a horse. You can probably Google that. It was called.
I've already posted that up actually.
Oh, nice. Rustang Sally.
Yeah.
And
what's it called? Rustang Sally.
Rustang Sally.
Yeah, fantastic.
She was an old Ford F250, like big sort of V8 petrol engine. Fucking lovely. And we went. So, we were chatting earlier. So what happened was Joe's girlfriend Ruth, who was she's an amazing performer. And she kind of like was really responsible for doing Trash City when we started
Yep.
doing Trash City. She kind of brought in Block 9 and all those people through her kind of performance-y sort of side, because me and Joe ain't performers. We're just like, we make sculpture.
Yeah.
And she brought this whole element of performance to it, which was awesome. And her mate basically went out to Burning Man in 2007, I think, and ended up just drifting from one tent,
Camp hopping.
one bit of shade to another. And I met up with this geezer Scotty, who I was saying earlier, he runs a sound system over there, but he's like a boy from Froome. He was one of the founders of Glade, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, he used to manage the Osric Tentacles. And,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
That's a claim to fame alone.
This guy is just like a fucking dynamo, honestly. Out of anybody I've ever met, he's the guy that just gets shit done. And he was the reason we did the teapots. Yeah, he's already living out there. He had an American wife and a couple of kids, and
right.
And he met Ruth and was like, yeah, oh, what, your boyfriend's Joe Rush from the Mutoids? Oh, I love the Mutoids. Yeah, get him to come over. So she came back and was like, look, we got to go and do it. And at the time, me and Joe were like on a bit of a downer. We'd just sort of come back from Italy, feeling quite low. And Joe was going to get a job. He was going to learn how to become a gas fitter. We just got to get a job. And I don't know what I was going to do, but in the end, we were just like, oh, okay, let's go to Burning Man. Why not? Loads of people have been saying to us for years, you got to go to Burning Man. And we're like, fuck off, we have to go to Burning Man. Sick of hearing it. But so we went, and they were right. We actually did have to go to Burning Man. It was quite sweet.
Bit of a life changer, isn't it?
Well, it wasn't too much of a life changer because we were still building the shit we'd always built. But the attitude is that
knowing that you were on the right path and there was a market for what you were doing, there was a whole world out there that would enjoy it.
Yeah,
that's what I mean by life changer.
Yeah. What it was we sort of went out there with a little bit of a sort of British attitude of like fucking hippies and that,
Yeah.
And it was actually very sweet.
Well, that's what I thought.
When people come up to you and go,
exactly.
People, in at Glastonbury, I've seen people trying to kick my sculptures over, literally just trying to kick it. And if they ain't kicking it over, they're pissing on it.
Really?
You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, mate, you know what I mean? That is the last thing that would happen at Burning Man, as you know. People come up and they go, oh man, thanks for your gift. Aren't you going to piss on it?
Wait for people to come kick it.
Yeah. I mean, we did this Range Rover, which was like a really narrow Range Rover, took out a whole centre section, so just instead of 2 seats, it was 1 seat.
Was this your first year at Burning Man?
No, this was at Glastonbury.
Oh, right, okay.
So we built this Range Rover that was like really narrow, and I came around a corner and there's like 3 blokes just trying to kick the thing over to make, topple it. So it was like, I was like, oi, what the fuck are you doing?
You don't respect
like,
art.
God, yeah. It's like, and over there's just so much respect and so much love, and as much as we had this sort of punk attitude about fucking hippies, it was like, it was coming from a really nice place. I mean, how can you fault that? But and I found it's just really lovely. People come up to us and going, man, thanks for your gift. Meaning this sculptural truck that we were driving around, and just people go like, do you want a sandwich? Hey, have a beer.
I found that too. I found there was a lot of giving.
Like, really, what do you want? No, it's just a sandwich.
To me, it kind of felt like Burning Man was very much it is very much a kind of like, it's a giving community. Like, you don't need to ask. Do you know what I mean? It's like anyone that's walking around going, have you got this, have you got that? You kind of go, well, you don't really need to, because everyone offers stuff. You don't. It's always you're offered more than you need.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And no, I don't think I've ever met anyone at Burning Man who says, hey, have you got, and just like ask for something without something in return. It's like, sure. Hey, I've got this.
It's strange,
I'm looking for that.
Is it? I don't know. I mean, obviously it sort of grew organically, but it's is it because that that's what to expect when you get there? Is that why everybody's been so fucking polite? Is it? I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Because that certainly doesn't.
I was the same as you, though.
Yeah,
it took me a long time from being told about Burning Man to actually going, and that's not because I didn't have the opportunities to go. It's just that I was like,
whatever.
That. I'm going to go to Des and hang out with a bunch of hippies and pay to get in, and then pay for everything. And like, I didn't see at that point I hadn't grasped it was an art-based thing.
Right.
I was like, it's just full of people, sound systems, just like I didn't really grasp what was going on.
Yeah. The enormity of the social experiment.
Yeah, and it really is. You're right. It isn't a social experiment, and it seems to be working.
Well, it is that starting point. You also, it's, you know, I mean, it isn't that far away from civilization. It's 300 miles from San Francisco, but it is a bit of a trek. I mean, 300 miles of like pretty much nothing, isn't it? It's like
Seems
desert.
a lot longer coming home.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
When you're trying to get back to San Francisco or Reno or wherever you're flying from, and knowing
Reno's
that
good.
you've got a 12-hour flight as well.
I remember we stopped off at Reno on the way back one time, and there's a bunch of dudes beside us, and they were in the next camp to us, and they were at the foyer in front of us, and they were like, yeah, we want like the presidential suite, and we were like, dude, really? He was going, yeah, it's like $200, man. It's like like fucking presidential suite, you know. And it was awesome, you know. Like, we actually said, we went, okay, we want like a really good suite too, you know. Fucking $100 bought you like this huge room with like huge baths, and do you ever stop in Reno? So he just got loads of dusty burners just washing himself down
in the swimming pool.
Yeah, and it's totally luxurious because they just want people there to sort of gamble. So like the rooms are so cheap for what they are. You know what I mean? It ain't, you know. It was
first year I went there, I got
shit.
I got hello. Sorry. First year I went, I got into the RV. And then it was like, should we leave? And it was like, yeah, just leave.
Leave where?
Just leave Burning Man.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It was like but this was like on the Sunday, right after, and we were sort of sitting there, and I was like, should we leave? And everyone was like, yeah, let's go. And we literally just kind of left. And I realised I'd left my shoes there because I'd taken my shoes off to get in the RV because they were filthy, and then we just left. Yeah. So we got to like the first service station.
Don't need shoes.
I was like, let's get out. I went, I ain't got no shoes. By the time we got to San Francisco, I literally walked down the street to the Adidas store with no shoes on, looking to buy a pair of shoes. Because I was in a hotel, and I was like, I couldn't ask them. It was either that or walk down there in like bath slippers. I mean, I just thought, San Francisco, no one's going to batter an eyelid.
Really, they wouldn't. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I don't know why I told you that. I was confiding.
No. So I'm totally with you on that.
So talking about events and stuff, what highlights? What's out? Is there any one, or like, I'll tell you what, not just highlights, lowlights. Maybe they're easier to remember.
I don't.
Have you had any tolerable events where you just went, oh man, I'm just so pleased to leave?
There's a couple, but I don't.
Or ones that you're like, I'm happy. Like,
I don't want to go with the lowlights because that's just too fucking
depressing.
But there has been some. No, I don't know. They've all been good, man. It sounds really trite, but I just love seeing people's just faces when they just check out the shit, and they're just like, really. Really? you did this? What? Why did you do this?
Yeah.
Well, so that you guys would look at it and go, why did you do this?
Yeah. To get that response.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Sorry, guys.
It's all right.
Turn this off. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So highlights, all the parties, every single fucking party was brilliant. I wouldn't know where to start with that one.
All right, we'll come back to that. All right. Sorry, I have a bunch of questions. When it comes to projects, when you decide on what you're going to do, like we was chatting right at the beginning of the podcast, with the Dragon car, where do you even start? Where
what, the dragon thing that I'm building now?
Yeah, you're building now.
Well,
not just that. I mean, in general, when a project in general, what's the way that it gets started?
It usually starts with somebody saying, "Can you do this?" And I just don't think about it and go, "Yeah, I can do that."
So you never work on stuff that you think, no, maybe this would be an interesting thing to work on.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, I choose the jobs, stuff. Yeah. I used to try and do commercial stuff. I have done commercial stuff. I've done stuff that I wouldn't put my name to. Building stuff for videos or films or whatever. Not necessarily very artistic, but so I do that as a bread and butter thing. But every now and again you get a project where you just I can use this. I would include this in my folio if you will. You know what I mean? Having said that, I'm bloody useless at having stuff. I don't know if you've seen my website, but it's shit. I don't update it.
It didn't come up actually when I was looking for you. I went to Facebook.
I probably haven't paid for it for a while. It's just it's rubbish. I'm useless at that shit. I wish I was better, but
well, we'll hook you up because my best mate is a web builder who does the
Minxie is really good at that. We chat about many of the Minx, my best mates, and she's really good at that shit, and I'm just totally not.
So when I'm when like for example,
thankfully I don't really need it. I just get by without it.
So I guess there's a lot of word of mouth for a start, and also is that there's a lot of people that you're established for like 35 years. Was it 35 years?
Yeah, something like that.
35 years.
Well, I think maybe 25 years.
Well, let's say 25. That's still a long time.
Yeah,
but established as a sculpture designer, artist, however you want to pitch yourself. I'm guessing there's a lot of people that be like, do you know what?
Bunch of white boys, pretty much.
Do you find that there's a lot of people that throw money at something because they decide they see it and they're inspired? Like, I don't mean this in disrespect, but it's like wealthy people. You have it at Burning Man as well. Where people go there and they get blown away, and because they have a little bit of surplus income, they're going, good, man. I want to throw some money at this because this is good.
I think that's a really. Some people think that's a really. There's been a certain amount of negativity about rich people funding stuff at Burning Man. What could be more fucking pure than that, really? Because I've worked for people like Red Bull when there's a lot of money involved, and a lot of work, and you're trying to please them, and they're just trying to please themselves and make money. It's really commercial. It's like, fuck that shit. If you've got somebody who's got loads of money and they put loads of money into something, they don't want anything. It's not a commercial. It's not a commercial thing. You know what I mean? It's like
for
a
real reason,
for the right reasons, and I can't actually fault that. I would completely fault working on a commercial level, and I've been trying to get away from it. It's like every now and again I have to work for people like that. And I'm not proud of it, and I hate it. I feel shafted.
Okay.
But if some rich dude comes up to me and goes, here's fucking 10 grand, build something nice, how good is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How can you?
Well, that's a gift, isn't it? Like you're saying, like you're saying about Burning Man, is that people view it and go, thank you for the gift, thank you for what you've. So if someone's actually going to fund that, you should be like, thank the guy that gave me the money, allowed us to do this, to give it to you.
For sure, those guys ain't going like, it has to be this big and it has to be that big and it has to, because I've had people like big commercial things come to me and say like, right, we really like what you do. Can you design us something? So I'll design it. I'll spend ages thinking about it, working out, designing it, and then they'll go, okay, well it's okay, but can you make it, a bit smaller? Can you make it like longer? And can you make it pink? You know what I mean? And it's just like, well, why don't you fucking make it then? It's like,
I'll show you how to weld.
Just people come up to you and they say, we really love what you do. And maybe they do, but they ask you to build something and then they try and direct you how to build it. And that's commercial art and it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I'm.
So I guess
obviously I've got a beef about commercial art.
Well, why not? It's up to you. Right? It's like it's the if like you're saying, is the project comes in and somebody can afford to do it, and they're allowing you to make something amazing, and they trust your judgment.
Yeah.
What more can you want? That's a perfect scenario, I guess.
I live for that.
Yeah. Well, anyone that's listening.
Oh yeah, anybody's got loads of money wants me to make something, but not make it, pink, 20 foot long,
and then change the size of it halfway through.
Don't tell me what to do, for fuck's sake.
Well, we're getting to that right at the end because we obviously I'm going to ask you all your contacts and everything. Can I ask you about Arcadia, because Arcadia is a monster.
Yeah.
And it has grown and grown and grown as into now it's like accepted as one of the premier stages worldwide.
Sweet, yeah, brilliant. Pip and Bertie, they So Pip's Joe's brother. Which
Joe,
you didn't know,
Joe you might
Rush.
have to keep saying it only because
Joe Rush is like the founder of the Mutoids, and Pip's his brother,
right?
Pip Rush, and I remember. I can't even remember how long ago it was that Pip and Bertie and Alex and Pete, Paul, Pob, and so they just basically they sort of like came and sort of worked with us on one of the Glastonburys, and they'd only done a couple of festivals. They were like really fresh and quite young, and it was quite sweet. And 2 years later, they're just fucking banging right into it, with like just all the energy that I haven't got because I'm not that young. They just they just work brilliantly. They got like enthusiasm. They got like a crew. They're all I remember me and Giles hanging out with them like. So there's all these like guys with their shirts off, and me and Giles we can take our shirts off. We don't have that like sort of 6-pack. Anyway, so it's a young crew with like loads of enthusiasm and the right attitude.
It's just huge. That's a huge installation.
It was it was brilliant. But they started small. You know what I mean? They started with a couple of aeroplanes or jet engines, and they made a little DJ booth out of that, and then they built a little stage off that, and then they had this truck that they built around the truck and built a stage off it. It's like, you just build up, and they've done it really well. The thing about what me and Joe have been doing over the years is that we don't really save shit. We're really bad at that. Every gig, we just like scrap everything and start again.
Really?
Yeah, it's really stupid, but
because that was one of my questions of where does all this like...
Well, what Pip's done, Pip and Bertie have done it, they just kind of like kept focus and just kept adding to the thing, So what started off as one rocket engine, they hoisted it up, did a DJ booth in it, and then hoisted it up a bit more. Then they got like the main legs, they're off of I think they're off like it's like a container crane for loading containers on the side of a ship. That's what those legs are.
Right. Okay.
So they got them, and then they got a couple of trucks with the cranes. You just got to keep adding to it, and they've done really well at it, and just had focus on just keep adding to the show.
They done a one-day event in Bristol City, didn't they?
They went out in Singapore and stuff, and they've been, they've done some, it's brilliant. It's a wicked show,
Yeah, and everyone's queuing up to play there. And
I played there a couple of times. They won't get me anymore, mate.
Well, you played there a couple of times more than I have.
Yeah. I did a wicked set as well. That was when we were at Trash City.
Okay.
It was Trash City.
So just cut back to talking about DJing, because I first heard about you. I knew about Mutoid Waste. I knew about all the Art Collective, but you personally, when I heard about you, was when you released on Wall of Sound, and it was the same time as when I worked for Wall of Sound with Ceasefire. I mean, this is very the same era.
When was that then?
So early days of Big Beat. Yeah, probably around 94.
Do you remember all that thing about Big Beat and everybody going like, nobody wanted to be part of Big Beat? Did you want to be part of Big Beat?
Well, when you put it like that.
No, it was like, I didn't give a fuck.
I was just making some beats, that's
exactly, no, but I just remember thinking about, I did a few Wall of Sound gigs, and everybody's just being really precious about not, we're not part of Big Beat, and it was like, I thought it was really counterproductive, I remember...
I quite like the melting pot of Big Beat. I like the thing of
like
it's
Big
a lot of funk. It was like funk.
Yeah.
It was like for techno in there, for house.
I think what it was
anything, a bit of melting pot. That worked for me.
It was on a sort of. It was on the trailing end of like trip hop.
Yeah.
Just having
it was an up tempo trip hop.
But I think that name trip hop kind of fucked a load of things up. I mean, I don't even think if you look in Mixmag, there isn't even like a breakbeat chart anymore. It's not
there is actually.
Is there?
Yeah,
okay.
It's not what you would think is breakbeat though.
It's all about fucking labels, isn't it? And
spooky bass now.
I do remember. You're right. But
we won't talk about breakbeat on this show. We've talked about breakbeat a lot.
Okay.
The only reason I won't talk about it is because like everyone knows my thoughts about it, and whenever I talk to someone else, I always find myself going, "But don't you think?" And I start trying to guide them into the way that I think about it. I'm trying to manipulate you into the way I think.
I do have one little story about that I thought was quite funny, right?
But when it comes to Big Beat, we're talking pre-breakbeat. Yeah. So this is the scene.
Before Fatboy Slim.
Well, I mean, well, it was going
Yeah, it
before
seems
Fatboy
like so,
Slim.
yeah,
It was,
yeah.
you know, the scene was moving along before Fatboy Slim.
But what I thought was funny, like, I've got a little story here, little story. So like we did this Wall of Sound party. You might even been there. I don't know, but it was like just off Leicester Square, down a little alleyway. In this little club, it's quite small. It's like only like 400 people, 300
It's in the
people.
Milk Bar.
I don't know. Maybe it
Or
was in the-
Falconberg Court.
It sounds like Falconberg
Court,
Court. It sounds
because
familiar.
there was two little places sort of down there. Falconberg
Right.
Theatre, which was like
Yeah.
a
It's like
very
a-
bespoke little kind of theatre thing, but
It's
doubled up
definitely
as a
a
club.
bar.
And the Milk Bar was down there as well.
But what happened was, so Mark Jones, who started Wall
Yep.
of Sound, and he decided to do this like 80s kind of revival shit. And they were just kind of being obtuse for the point of it. They just didn't want to be a breakbeaty thing, you know what I mean? So he said, right, we're going to do this night. Everybody just play what you liked in the 80s, right? So I ended up playing like some weird fucking Virgin Prince shit and Throbbing Gristle, I don't know. And Stuart, Jacques Leconte, he ended
Yeah.
up playing like sort of ABC and all that sort of stuff from the 80s, you know, just like,
Yeah.
just weird. And who else? There was a bunch of guys, but everybody was playing not Wall of Sound. Nobody was playing any kind of
I
breaks.
bet it was a Milk Bar. I'm
It
sure
was, and what happened was like I was DJing. I can't remember who had been DJing before me, but this Japanese guy came up and he was going, when are the Wall of Sound DJs going to play? And I was like, I don't know, mate.
Mark Jones was always a bit of he was very good at going against the grain to create something new that would work.
All this guy wanted to hear was just some Wall of Sound shit.
Yeah.
And that was the last thing that we were going to play. And I just couldn't explain that to him. I just had to say, listen, I don't know, mate. I don't work here. And it was like, after that, I was like, God, why can't we just please the crowd? You know what I mean? Because as a DJ, for years, that's all I tried to do, just please the fucking crowd, you know?
Right.
Because when you please yourself, you end up with a fucking empty dance floor. I found out.
You know, I'm kind of...
Maybe your experience is different.
I don't know. It's like... I sort of think when I play music, I lose people on my page a little bit. When I post in little YouTube clips and stuff that I like, I definitely lose. People are like, yeah, what the fuck, you know? When I'm posting up sort of like a little bit of
See you later.
country or something like that, that I like,
you later,
this
okay.
is really cool, you know? Or I post up something that's like a little bit what you wouldn't expect. Definitely
Right.
lose people, but I wouldn't play that. So I kind of...
You
I
should.
know
Oh,
know
go
what's
on.
expected
Do
of
it,
me
do it.
actually in a club.
Yeah.
You know, within reason. When I say within reason, is that unfortunately I do have a lot of kind of breakbeat baggage.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the technical term
I'm
for
not,
it.
yeah, no, I think that is exactly the technical term for
But it's
it.
like, so you have a lot of people go, why are you playing techno?
It's called braggage.
Yeah, braggage. So anyway, look, let's get back on you because I don't need any excuse to talk about myself. Can we just talk about a steampunk thing?
Steampunk.
Only 'cause
yeah.
I find it really interesting because you guys were doing it before it was known as being a cool sort of look.
Yeah, well, I think it's really sweet. I love goggles. Basically, when we all started, the first thing you do is like put on a set of goggles, and all of a sudden you're dressed up. You know what I mean? And then I don't know. Steampunk's lovely. I kind of really liked. There's William Gibson did a book called what the fuck was it called? It was basically a steampunk novel. It was called the Babbage Engine.
Right. Okay.
And basically, a guy in the Victorian era, a guy called Babbage, created a difference engine. That was what it was called. He created a computer that was all kind of pneumatic, had cards, and air blew through the holes in the cards. In the same way as a computer does, it was binary code. So
Right, okay.
0, 1, 0, 1, you know. And he created a computer in the Victorian period.
No way.
So William Gibson and this other dude wrote this book based on the idea that maybe the Victorians, if they'd sort of like got their computers together, they would have started producing all the shit. And it's a lovely story. I mean, like, I like steampunk. It's just a little bit like you can sort of look at something like that and think it's a bit naff, but
is that because it's become more credible that you know you not I'm not going to put urge in my mouth, but it's because that like as a human nature is like when you feel like you've part of something that isn't
created
popular.
Something when it comes popular, you
yeah,
just want to distance yourself from it.
Like, and that's not you personally. Everyone does that, you know.
Yeah, no, I guess it's something like that. But it's like I think I used to be a punk, and I love punk, but I just ain't gonna walk around with a Mohican and a leather jacket with the Exploited written on it, because it's the same as walking around with a Victorian frock coat with a top hat and goggles. I think you can maybe just push the envelope a little bit. I mean, for years I used to like wear the most outrageous shit, just bits of motorbike stuck on my head, you know what I mean? And then now the only way I can rebel is just to look normal, I think.
Do you know what Ozzy Osbourne said the greatest quote? I thought was the greatest quote. And about what he told his kids. And look, I say it's greatest quote. I watched it on the Osbournes on MTV, so I'm not just saying what I took from this show. And he said, if you want to be original, don't get a tattoo.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah.
And I just thought that for someone that's covered in tattoos,
you got a few, haven't you? Yeah,
a few. Yeah. But he would know. I mean, like, Ozzy Osbourne making a point of saying, like when you're trying to look unique and you're trying to look, and don't just follow everyone else. What's unique now is not to have anything, not to be, is to be quite straight-laced. It's different. Right, so let's get to the bit where this was massive. You got asked to do the Paralympics.
Oh, yeah, it was quite big, yeah. It was
quite big.
It was probably one of the biggest gigs we've done. Do you know how many hits I had on my website after that? None.
But then, I mean, it's a funny one because I'm aware of what you do, so I knew it was you. And I knew it was you guys. I knew what was going on.
It was very sweet. We got a lot of love, and then we also got a bit of hate. There was a few people going, "Oh, you fucking sold out." You know what I mean?
Are
I was
you
like,
joking?
"No, we really did." From some people in our family that should have known better, were going, "Yeah, fucking sold out."
Jealousy, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, well, really? Well, we did get paid, and it was probably better paid than we ever got for Glastonbury, but it still wasn't on a par with what everybody else got paid for that gig. In fact, we did it because nobody else could do it for the money they were offering. You know what I mean?
But this was broadcast worldwide. I watched it on national TV.
Yeah,
I thought it was amazing. I'm not just saying that because you're sitting in front of me. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, it was nice. It was nice. It happened in a really kind of organic way as well because.
So we jumped in like everybody knows. Mutoid Waste were commissioned to do.
The opening ceremony of the Paralympics.
The opening ceremony of the Paralympics.
It was the opening ceremony. Yeah.
Which is,
good.
Outside the Olympics, it doesn't get bigger than that, does it?
We did, yeah. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I think that I don't think we would have taken it on if it was like if somebody had approached us and said it's for the Olympics opening ceremony. I don't know if we would have really done that. If we had, we would have got better paid. But no, it's the Paralympics, and it's like an underdog. You know what I mean? And we were all about that.
And it was awesome. The actual event itself, I felt was better
as it developed. The whole story. So there was a designer called Misty Buckley. She approached us. Well, actually, she started designing it with us in mind because she works with Emily Evis and does the park at Glastonbury.
Right.
She designs all that area, which is like it's really sweet and. It's really they put a lot of effort into the visuals. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not just a load of Heineken tents. It's there's some ideas, and so she kind of liked our stuff and thought it was wacky and weird and strange. And her and Kim Gavin kind of designed this whole show, which was quite. It was a bit kind of alternative. It was well alternative. It was like going back to ideas of kind of what do you call it? It's like pre-Christian kind of English kind of history. I don't know. It was all about. It was a little bit hippie-ish, but it was just it was lovely. It was like about the moon, about the wind and the elements, and and So she had us in mind when she designed it. Ended up going through a whole load of people before it came to us, and it came to us by accident, by somebody phoning me up and going like, can you do this thing? I can't tell you what it is, but we can't do it. Can you do it? And we're like, yeah, we'll do it. And so we ended up doing it. So that was quite strange. Yeah, it was like 6 months of 15-hour days and loads of work, and we all learned a lot. We just never really had, it was a good budget, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we spent all the budget on doing it, we didn't, it's not like we were living large.
Right.
It was a really good experience. And on the back of that, it gave us like I was saying before, it was part of it gave me the confidence to sort of do the teapots.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck it, we can do this,
Yeah.
And we did that in about 3 weeks. The other one we did, it was 6 months. 6 months on the Paralympics for like a 10-minute show. I mean, but there was like parts of other shows that Kim Gavin had designed, millions they'd spent on this whole kind of road system. They built this kind of Scalextric road track for the actual Olympics. And because it didn't quite fit, they scrapped it. And it was like fucking 8 million quid they spent building this thing, and they just scrapped it like that. You know what I mean? It was like just ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous project, you know what I mean? I'm not saying we got 8 million. No. We actually got 16 million.
I mean, when it comes to
50 quid.
Do you still feel you're a struggling artist? Have you?
Well, I am struggling.
No, but I mean, not feel, but do you still embrace that?
I only actually just started embracing being an artist in the last few years. I used to say to people I'm an artist because they'd be like, yeah, well, especially in Britain.
Yeah.
If you say that in America, I'm an artist. Oh, really? You do that, yeah. Well, you wanker. You're an artist? Yeah, right. Show me something. Might as well be a magician. But yeah, no, I don't know. Show me something.
I'm a magician.
Yeah. Show me something.
Show me some magic.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm an artist.
But I guess that, like you said, you learned something from it. It's just, but then even if taken from that was that you moved on to next and do the teapots with that kind of confidence that you can deliver on that level.
Pretty much, yeah. Get up at 8 in the morning, start building something, finish at about 12 at night. But it was, do you know what? It was just like, well, for the whole Paralympics build, I knew it's about 15 of us, I guess, and it was just angle grinders, gas torches, welders. It's like Dante's Inferno. Do you know what I mean? Really? It's like noise, weld, heat, metal, noise, weld, heat, just for fucking hours and hours and hours. And after a while, you get used to it, but I kind of love it, and also it is hell. It's like hell. Right. My mate Maurizio just totally burnt his arm on the teapot job.
Oh, really?
He was just angle grinding this thing and just set fire to his arm, but he didn't even see it, and got like 3rd-degree burn on his arm. It was a really nice Hawaiian shirt as well. It's a shame.
Dear.
I know. The shirt will never be the same again.
So before we wrap up, do you want to name check anyone?
Oh God, yeah, you said that earlier, but I don't even know who do I name check.
Thanks to Ivanka for a start, because she was the one that passed me on. You're the first person I've interviewed that I didn't know personally before. Obviously, I knew about you, but I didn't know you. We spoke on the phone a couple of times, and we've spoken on the phone once actually. Alex, thank you so much for doing this, and I know you probably wanted to cancel today because you're like,
mate, I was so close to telling you not to come round. I know we got all excited and stayed up all last night. We had a Barbie. I don't know, you know the story.
Well, yeah. Well, like I say, no one likes a quitter.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or
a bullshitter.
Yeah. So, and thank you for the stories. Thank you a little bit of insight into what you've been doing.
Cheers, man.
I will make sure that all the links are in place for when we actually air this show, air it when we put it out. Sweet. And before you go, can I get some stings?
My name's Wreckage. You're listening to Lowering the Tone with Meet Katie.
Awesome.
Cheers.
And
thanks, man.
Where can people get in touch with you?
It's Wreckage Inc. Actually, I mean, I'm now called Wreckage International.
I know, I saw this.
But when I was on Wall of Sound, it was called Wreckage Incorporated.
Yeah.
And I just thought I was being clever by changing it. I don't know why. So now it's, but I still go with that same bloody Yahoo thing, which is Wreckage Inc. WRECKAGEINC @ yahoo.co.uk.
Awesome.
Hit me up, man.
And anyone,
I'll build your sculptures and shit.
Anyone that's got some money out there, this is a good investment.
Yeah, even if you haven't got any money, I seem to work that way too.
Yeah, and if not, just hit him up and tell him you appreciate the work. Thank you very much, dude.
Cheers, man.
So there you have it, episode 15 of Lowering the Tone. You'll know it's a pleasure for me to do these shows. It's good to be back. Next episode, I have Evil 9 in for an interview. Well, I say in. I went around Tom's house and we drank some whiskey and recorded it. Anyhow, I will love you and leave you.
To receive a track listing for this show, go to loweringthetone.london and hit subscribe.